The infant's wails tore through the cabin like a storm no one could escape. Passengers shifted irritably in their seats, huffing, sighing, rolling their eyes in exhaustion and annoyance. Flight attendants exchanged helpless looks. And in the very front row of first class sat a man whose life was built on success, control, and impeccable reputation. Yet now he sat frozen, powerless, cradling the tiny, red-faced child who wouldn't stop crying. His polished world was unraveling at 30,000 feet, and right behind him, in the narrow aisle seat of economy, sat a single mother who hadn't slept in 2 nights, clutching a toddler who leaned weakly against her chest. Her life had been nothing but noise, chaos, and struggle, yet the sound of that crying baby struck her like a call from fate, because she recognized that cry. The cry of fear, of confusion, of a child missing something it desperately needed. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small actions changing someone's life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind Hearts Corner. It truly helps this channel reach more people who need stories like this. The plane trembled slightly with turbulence, but nothing shook as deeply as the emotions brewing in the heart of the woman named Anna. She had boarded the plane exhausted, carrying a backpack full of diapers, snack crumbs, and hope that barely held itself together. Her son, 3-year-old Lucas, was recovering from a fever. She was flying home after spending the last of her savings on a medical trip that might improve his condition. She had planned to spend the flight quietly, letting him sleep on her lap while she stared blankly at the seat back in front of her. But the crying from first class wouldn't stop. And the strange thing was, the baby's cry sounded familiar. Not the baby itself, but the pattern. It was the kind of cry that came from hunger, but also confusion. A cry that begged for closeness. Anna felt something tighten inside her. She tried to ignore it. This wasn't her business. She had enough problems. Her bank account was nearly empty. She didn't know if Lucas's treatment would work. She hadn't had a proper meal in almost a day. And yet her instincts wouldn't let her rest. She looked at the man in first class. Even from behind, she could recognize the stiff, expensive posture. The kind of man who'd probably never touched a diaper before this. His suit jacket hung awkwardly on the armrest. His hair was perfectly styled except for one wild strand. The mark of a parent at their breaking point. The baby screamed louder, and the passengers groaned again. Anna closed her eyes. She tried to breathe, but the sound pierced her like a memory. A memory of when she was alone in a hospital room, with Lucas screaming uncontrollably, and strangers judging her, and nurses too overwhelmed to help. That day she had cried harder than her baby. She couldn't sit still. Her heart wouldn't let her, so despite every insecurity, every fear of being judged, and every instinct that told her to mind her own business, Anna gently shifted her sleeping toddler and stood up. Her legs trembled as she approached first class, weaving through impatient faces and arms folded in resentment. The flight attendant noticed her and looked alarmed, but Anna simply pointed toward the distressed man. When she reached him, she saw his eyes, a mixture of panic and frustration, but also something deeper. A loneliness she recognized because she had lived with it for years. He looked up at her as if expecting criticism, but Anna only whispered, "May I help?" The man blinked in disbelief. His lips parted like he wanted to refuse, but something in her expression broke through his walls. With visible hesitation, he carefully handed the crying baby to her, as if surrendering not just the child, but also the burden he had been trying so hard to carry alone. The second the baby touched her arms, everything changed. The infant let out one final sharp cry, then inhaled shakily, eyes blinking up at Anna with searching confusion. Then, miraculously, the wailing faded into whimpers. The cabin quieted. People stared. And the man, who looked like he hadn't taken a full breath since boarding, sagged back into his seat as if someone had lifted an entire world off his shoulders. Anna gently rocked the baby, instinctively knowing the rhythm a child needed. She hummed softly, the lullaby she once sang to Lucas every night before life became too hard for singing. She held the baby close, feeling its tiny heartbeat against her chest. The millionaire watched her, stunned. For the first time, Anna truly saw him. Sweat on his forehead, shaking hands, exhausted eyes hiding secrets. The kind of secrets money couldn't fix. And slowly, that man, known publicly for his brilliance and confidence, whispered hoarsely, "I'm sorry." I don't know how to do any of this." Anna didn't reply. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was the answer. As the baby drifted into peaceful sleep, Anna carried the child back to the man and gently placed the little one in his arms. He stared at her as if she had given him more than help, as if she had given him hope. But as she turned to walk away, she felt a gentle tug. Not from the man, but from the baby's tiny fingers clutching her shirt, as if saying, "Don't go." The man swallowed hard. "Could you stay for a moment?" Anna hesitated before nodding. She sat in the empty seat beside him. Lucas remained asleep in the economy row behind them, watched by a kind flight attendant. Then, silently, as the plane hummed through the night sky, the man spoke. He told her his name was Daniel. He told her his wife had passed away unexpectedly 3 months ago, the day their baby was born. He explained that he had thrown himself into work, trying to survive grief by drowning in responsibility. This flight was the first time he'd ever traveled alone with his child. He wasn't even sure he knew how to love her the way her mother would have. Anna's heart clenched, because she knew what grief looked like. She knew what fear tasted like. She knew what it meant to feel inadequate as a parent. That as he spoke, the walls he had built around himself cracked. And for the first time since she boarded, Anna felt that maybe she wasn't as alone in her struggle as she thought. When she told him her story, how she worked endless shifts, how she feared losing Lucas, how she had no support, Daniel listened with a sincerity she wasn't used to. His expression softened, and for a moment, their two broken worlds sat side by side, finding unexpected comfort at 30,000 feet. The rest of the flight felt quieter, not because the baby slept, but because two people who had been silently carrying unbearable burdens suddenly found themselves carrying them together. When the plane landed, Daniel insisted on helping Anna collect her bags, even though his own life surely demanded attention. He walked beside her all the way to the terminal, his daughter resting peacefully in his arms. Before she turned to leave with Lucas, he stepped forward. "Anna, you saved me today," he said, voice trembling. "I don't think you know what you did. But if you ever need help with anything, I meant what I said. I want to be there." Anna felt an unexpected warmth bloom in her chest. Not romantic, not yet, but something like the first breath after drowning. A promise that life wasn't finished surprising her. She smiled faintly. "Sometimes," she whispered, "we just need someone to remind us we're not failing." They exchanged a final look, one filled with new hope, unspoken gratitude, and the quiet understanding that their paths had crossed for a reason neither of them had planned. And as they walked separate ways, something had changed forever. Two strangers, both broken in different ways, had found a moment of healing through a crying baby. And a single mother who did the unthinkable simply because her heart knew compassion. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kind Hearts Corner. Your support brings more healing stories to the world.